Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of JD's NASCAR and Sports Podcast. This week, we are recapping the Indy road course race and looking forward to Watkins Glen as the last 2 weeks of the NASCAR regular season wrap up, and then it is on to the playoffs. So I think that the playoffs this year are going to be really, really good. You got several people that I think can win the whole thing. So let's get into it. Before we dive into the race recap from this week, I wanted to take a minute to say that the podcast is now available on Amazon Music. This is the third platform that it is on, and this happened early this week. So go stream on there if you are so inclined. It is free with Amazon Prime. So now we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. The more platforms you're on, in my opinion, the better. And this is another step towards growing our podcast. So if you want to listen to one platform or all three, go ahead. I'd appreciate it. And thank you for all of your all's continued support. Continue to like, rate, review, subscribe, follow, and most importantly, stream the episodes. So obviously, if you're listening to this, you're streaming it, and I cannot tell you how thankful I am for that. So let's go ahead and get into the race recap and then this week's race preview. If you know me, you know that I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, especially to do with this podcast. I'm just going to give you my opinions and shoot you straight. And this week was not necessarily a good race in my opinion. Some people love long green flag runs. I'm of the opinion that I do sometimes. But I think the road courses, I enjoy some cautions. I agree that stage breaks are no more. I do like that because, you have differing strategies and things like that. And the race plays out more naturally like that. So I do agree with the no stage breaks, but when they said that, I also don't think that they expected to be no cautions at all. And this week, for the first time at Indy especially, we had no other caution flags besides the first caution, and that was when Joey Logano just absolutely wiped out Justin Haley. This ruined Haley's day. Justin Haley, pretty decent road course racer, and I think it was lap probably 5. It was very early on. Logano hops a curb, takes Haley out, and after that, it was pretty much over for Justin Haley's race. He ran pretty slow after that, significant damage. I don't think he DNF'd. I think he still ran all race long. But after that, they jumble him back up, and one of the lone restarts of the day, Joey Logano gets super deep into turn 1, and I think Joey Logano is ready for them to go back to the Indy Oval next year, because the last couple years he has not fared too well here, and this year was no different. He locks up, gets into the back of Ryan Blaney, and spins, but Logano was the only person affected by this incident. Everybody else did a very good job missing him. He was turned sideways into turn 1 as he hit his teammate Blaney. That was really the only caution. Now that I think that Haley hit by Logano was the only caution of the day, because they did not wave the caution flag for this Logano incident. After that, SVG, who ran solid, finished in the top 10. So I want to shout out him. I said, if he won this race, you had to sign him before he left the facility. I still think that. Granted, there wasn't as many restarts as I thought there would be that would shuffle him back, maybe get him spun around. But he ran well and finished 10th. But here he gets into Ty Gibbs and spins Gibbs around. And I want to talk about Ty Gibbs on later into the pod, because I think that, he's one of the guys you got to watch this week. He was fast at Indy, got spun there, and still came back and finished well. He's now in a must-win situation. So is Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman. But, I think those three guys all are guys to watch for this week. And then Michael McDowell wins stage 1 at Indy. And, it was McDowell's day. If you all know, if you all watched the race, you all realize that he started it off by winning the first stage. Now, after that, between stage 1 and stage 2, Ryan Blaney and AJ Allmendinger get into it. It looks like Allmendinger dive bombs Blaney, gets past him, and then Blaney just had enough of it and spins Allmendinger. And AJ struggled to get his car back going. It took him at least 45 seconds to a minute. He lost a lot of time trying to get it refired, but still no caution flag. AJ was quoted on the radio saying if he got back to the 12, he was going to wreck him. He never got back to him today or at this race, but, could that be something in the future? I guess we'll see. I really don't know if anybody was in the wrong. I think it's just a racing deal. Granted, AJ did dive bomb him first, so Blaney did the same thing back. I think they're even in my opinion, but I'm sure AJ sees it differently. Now, Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin were on differing strategies as everybody else, it seemed like, throughout the day. Everybody pitted besides these two towards the end of stage 1. Denny and Brad stayed out, and it ends up being Denny and Brad battling for that stage 2 win to get a very valuable playoff point. And this was probably the most exciting part of the race, in my opinion. Not just because I'm a Denny Hamlin fan, but because it was really the best racing of the day, I thought, in my opinion, between him and Brad. They exchanged the lead back and forth, and Denny ends up winning the stage and grabs, like I just stated, a valuable playoff point. We'll see if that comes in handy as the playoffs begin. But very good strategy call. Denny thought, from what I understand, they didn't think they had the speed to win. As you can see, they qualified 25th. So they kind of threw Hail Mary at it. Didn't work out, no cautions, but at least he comes home with a playoff point. That's a win in my book. And I think he will be much more of a factor at Watkins Glen as well. And then, Daniel Suarez has a very bad green flag pit stop after stage 2. Only ended up costing him a spot because he had such a large gap. But, could have possibly won this race. Him and Michael McDowell seemed like the two fastest cars all day long. And Suarez was right there with him. Actually hopped him for the lead on pit road at one point, and then had that disaster. The hose got stuck under the car, the air hose that they used for the tires got stuck under the car. He couldn't go anywhere. Just a really bad timing disaster for the 99 team. But I really respected Suarez's statement in the interview. He said, we win as a team and lose as a team. That was really, really good. I expect Daniel Suarez to be a factor at Watkins Glen as well. But, it's kind of wild having 2 road courses back-to-back, honestly. To end the season with 2 road courses and a super speedway, I don't know if I'm a fan of it. I am a fan of ending with a super speedway just because it makes the playoffs insane. People trying to get in, their last ditch effort to get in, but the 2 road courses before I don't know if I really like that, but we'll see if NASCAR does away with that. I think this is the first time that they've ever done it before, but let me know what you think about it. As you're listening to this, shoot me a message or communicate with me and let me know what you think about the 2 straight road courses before the super speedway and then the playoffs. After the Daniel Suarez pit stop disaster, we've got Jenson Button versus Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I think these 2 guys wrecked each other for 50th about 4 times. It seemed like that they were on each other the whole time, but Ricky Stenhouse, as the guys on DBC said, was trying to start World War III. I laughed when I heard that, but it seemed like he took out every foreigner on the track. He took out Button first, and then Kobayashi. I think that was it. I'm not sure if it got into anybody else, but I thought it was pretty wild that those were the 2 that he got into. But Todd Gilliland, I hated to see this because last year at the Indy Road Course, he finished top 5. Looked really good in practice, didn't qualify that well, but he wasn't having that good of a day. I honestly expect to have a top 10, top 5 run today or at the race in Indy, but spins and hits the wall hard. This is the one that I thought was the most likely to bring out a caution, just because he hit the wall pretty hard. He was able to get it fired back up, but I guess due to the access road he was able to get on it, they didn't feel like it warranted a caution. This was the one that I was like, okay, they're definitely going to throw a caution flag. Well, I was wrong. And I hate it for Gillen. He's had a really good year. He's made the most out of his year, and he actually just re-signed with Front Row for next year. Him and McDowell both re-signed, so they're committing to them. They are committing to those two drivers for years to come, and that's really cool to see. Todd deserves it. He's I'm a fan of Todd Gilliland. Quietly making a name for himself. Never gets into any issues with any other drivers that I'm aware of, and just keeps it quiet and has solid runs, especially at road courses. So we'll see how he can do at Watkins Glen this week also. But hated that for Todd. And I got in my notes, nothing else really significant happened, but I've got a shockingly terrible day for AJ Allmendinger. And this was even before the Blaney spinning him. I don't know what's happened. I don't know if Colleague just don't have the speed on road courses that they thought they were going to have at the beginning of the year. I don't think it's an AJ problem because he is a road course master. The shockingly terrible day for him really surprised me. Figured he would be a factor. Already has a win here at Indy Road Course, but he also has a win at Watkins Glen. Granted, it was a while ago, 10 plus years ago, but could he be a factor? I guess we'll see. I don't think they've had the speed. I addressed this at the end of the podcast last week. I don't think AJ's had the speed that they thought, and I think that's the biggest issue. You got to have speed in order to win. Sure, you can be a great road course driver, but you've got to have the car to do it, and I don't think AJ has. Maybe that changes this week. I guess we will see. But Michael McDowell is your winner at Indy Road Course, and I know that was a short race recap, but honestly, nothing really happened that was that significant. Other than McDowell winning and clinching his way into the playoffs. His second career win after the Daytona 500 win. He caps it off with a win at Indy Road Course, and I'm glad for him. Underfunded team that has really battled all year long, right there in the heat of the playoffs, in on points most of the year. He's a guy that I didn't really mention because as you all know, I've been a proponent of Ty Gibbs and Alex Bowman winning all year long. I thought those both would happen. Those have yet to happen. So I haven't really mentioned McDowell's a playoff player, but he's in, and he's going to be a factor, I think. If they can get by, get past the round of 16, I think it's wide open for him. They're super underfunded, so that could come into play, but I mean, these guys are battling. I mean, they've battled all year long, and that's really good to see. And, if he brings another win, which this win should get him some more funding and resources, but when you continue to run like he has, you feel like that team is going to continue to get bigger and better. And like I touched on earlier, Todd Gilliland, his teammate, has run solid all year long. So I like both of these guys. I think that, they're both making a name for themselves here. Michael McDowell, a long-time veteran, but never been in a top-tier ride. And he's proven that he can win not in a top-tier ride. And that's awesome to see, and I don't think he's done. I think before his career's over, he can win a couple more races, and it would not surprise me at all. So hope they're on the upswing, and I think that will continue as time goes on. And I've got in the notes, never thought that I would see an Indy road course race that went green the entire time. And I never did. Indy road course has usually been chaos the couple years that they've done it. But I am glad that they are going back to the Indy Oval next year. That has not officially been confirmed, but that is a big rumor going around. And they did a tire test there Monday after the race on Sunday. So you would usually think that with the tire test the day after that they are most definitely going to back to the oval next year, and that'll bring the Brickyard 400 back, and that will be awesome. I'd love to attend that race. I think that's a possibility. And I've never been there, so it's one of the benchmark places you want to go watch a NASCAR race or any kind of race, honestly. So I'm all in for bringing the Brickyard back. Denny Hamlin, that's the one crown jewel he doesn't have. He came so close the last year that they ran it, and had a flat tire with like 2 to go. He was leading, and so if he could complete the crown jewels, that would be awesome. But just as a race fan in general, I think it'll be a lot better racing on the Indy Oval. We'll see with this next gen car. You never know, but I think it'll be awesome. So we will see. We will see. I cannot wait for the schedule for next year to come out. I'm sure you all are excited as well to see where all we are going. There was rumors of Montreal, which is a road course, coming in to NASCAR and us going there. So we'll see. But I wouldn't expect the schedule for a couple more weeks, maybe even months. But we will see. So now I guess we're on to the Watkins Glen preview. Now on to Watkins Glen and what I expect to happen there. I think, first of all, this won't be too hard to beat, but I think that this race will be more entertaining than the Indy road course. Just my opinion. I think there will be more cautions, I would think. If there's not, that would be a disappointment. In my opinion, which I'm a guy who doesn't just prefer cautions, but yes, at road courses, the restarts after cautions are so fun to watch, and that's what I missed at Indy, honestly, was the crazy restarts. I don't want complete chaos, but restarts are pretty awesome, and I'd love to see that. So Watkins Glen, I love this road course. Honestly, probably my favorite road course on the schedule. I really enjoy watching the races here. Love racing it on iRacing. And I want to start off when we're talking about it by saying Chase Elliott, for the first time, kind of looks like a contender that could win here. I was very blunt last week when I said I didn't think he had the speed to win at Indy, and I don't think he's going to make the playoffs. I still am of the belief, but for the first time, do I think he could win a race this year? Yes, I do. And that's just because of the speed he showed last week. I think he was honestly faster than McDowell at the end of that race. If he had one caution, Chase Elliott could have ended up in the winner's circle. That did not happen. But Chase is good here. Last year, pretty much had the race won until Kyle Larson used him up on the last restart, knocked him out of the way. Seemed like he had it won, but I don't think if it comes down to that again, I don't see Larson doing that, as he knows that Chase has got to get in the playoffs for Hendricks. So we'll see. I'm still predicting that Chase does not make the playoffs. It was impressive to see the speed of the 9 car this week, but is he going to do it again? We'll see. And I will eat some crow if he does. And I think, in my opinion, Christopher Bell and Ty Gibbs are 2 guys to look out for. Honestly, that's my guys to watch. I've got a couple of them, but Christopher Bell, Ty Gibbs, Daniel Suarez, and Alex Bowman. All these guys vying for that playoff spot. C. Bell's already in, but you look at the other guys I mentioned. Alex Bowman just ran top 5 at Indy Road Course. He's an all right road racer. And speaking of Bowman, I wanted to say that Denny Hamlin said this week that, of course, he had similar to the same back injury that Bowman had. He had it back in 2013, I think it was, when he was wrecked by Joey Logano at Auto Club. He said that, it took him a long time to get back to 100%. He didn't win the last race of that season. That was the only win that year. after I think he got hurt the second or third race of the year. So took him a long time to get back going, and I'm sure Bowman is experiencing some of the same issues. But a solid run for him at Indy Road Course, and I think he can back it up at Watkins Glen. I just saw a stat. Hendrick Motorsports has actually won every Watkins Glen race since 2018. Before that, they had not won since 2001. Now, that's pretty crazy. So, in the Gen 6 car, they won the last couple. And last year in the next gen, of course, Kyle Larson beat Chase Elliott. So, I might have changed my prediction. Seeing that stat, we will see. But Hendrick should be dominant again, and just because of that stat, I'm going to make them the team to beat at Watkins Glen this week. You got two guys in that organization that are not locked into the playoffs, being Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman. But, Byron and Larson, I think, will run well too. William Byron's day at Indy really got off to a bad start when he failed tech 3 times and had to start in the back, but he made his way up to a top 15 finish. Even after those issues of starting in the complete back, having to do a pass-through penalty. So he was pretty quick at Indy. And then, of course, we talked about Chase being faster than McDowell at the end. Part of that could be McDowell just, kind of backing off a little bit. But I think Hendrick are going to be your team to beat. And now on to race winner and question of the week. Before I get into the race winner prediction, I wanted to touch on something super cool really quick. NASCAR this week came out with a classics website where you can go stream basically any race ever. I know they don't have the 2001 Daytona 500 on there for obvious reasons, but almost every other race is on there. And I think it's NASCAR.com/classics. If you look up NASCAR Classics, Classic Races page, I'm sure it'll pop up. But, and all of these are the original broadcasts and the original quality. Very cool thing NASCAR has done, and it's all free. So if you're a NASCAR fanatic like I am and wanted to go back and watch older races from your childhood or even recently, you can do that. So that's something very, very cool that if y'all want to do that in your free time. If you do that, let me know which ones you pick so I can go back and rewatch some when I have the time, or even look at the highlights or whatever of that certain race. And that would be appreciated. Give us another thing to talk about. But I want to go ahead and predict a winner. I think, like I said, I picked Hendrick to be the team to beat. And I wanted to pick a guy out of that camp. But then I realized I just said Chase Elliott's not making the playoffs, so I cannot pick him. And I jumped off the Alex Bowman train 2 weeks ago after he wrecked at Pocono, and I had picked him to win. No, actually, I rode that train another week in Richmond. I picked him to win at Richmond, and he failed me there. So I can't pick Bowman or Elliott. And I think those two guys are the ones that are going to be the quickest out of the four, since they've got to make the playoffs. I think they'll get more time in the sim and I think they'll have the better cars. I could be totally wrong, but that's just my opinion. I think those two. So I can't pick a guy from Hendrick then. And, I jumped off the Bowman train, but I'm still on the Ty Gibbs train. And I think that Ty Gibbs wins this race and locks himself into the playoffs. He was super fast at Indy, been fast at other road courses this year, but it just hasn't worked out. He's been solid all year long, so just have some mistakes late or during the race. But I think he gets in, and I think he wins this race for his first career win in the Cup Series. He won here. No, he didn't win here in the Xfinity Series, but he was very good. Was leading the race. Him and Byron, I think, wrecked each other, like with a couple laps left when Gibbs ran Xfinity. But they were battling for the lead and kind of wrecked each other. But he's running Xfinity again this week, just coming off an Xfinity win at Indy. And I think Ty Gibbs will win this race on Sunday at Watkins Glen. So there's the prediction. It's a long shot, I would say, but it's my prediction, and we'll see if I'm right. And now we are on to the question of the week. This week's question of the week is honestly one of the best questions I've received. And it's a very good question. Really made me think, and I still don't 100% know the answer, honestly. But it says, with Front Row Motorsports and Michael McDowell getting into victory lane at Indy Road Course, who do you see as the next, they said Cinderella, I'm going to say underdog story, to win a race in the NASCAR Cup Series? And this is a great question. It's so hard to tell. Everybody's so competitive, and underfunded's kind of a loosely, it's a loose term. Like I don't understand the money side of NASCAR. So underfunded, I don't know if this would really count as an underfunded team, but I'm thinking about teams that you don't normally see in victory lane that much. And as I'm going down the roster, Front Row was really the main one that hadn't been in victory lane in a while. I want to say Colleague Racing, but they have not been competitive really this year, and that's something that's really concerning to me. Justin Haley and AJ Allmendinger, they've really shocked me this year. I could see Justin Haley being in contention at Daytona, the last race of the year, but I'm going to say Spire Motorsports is my answer. And Corey LaJoie is due for a victory. And these guys, I don't think they'll get it this week by any means, but he's had a solid year. I could see Corey winning at a super speedway, maybe Daytona in 2 weeks, maybe next year, but I think I'm going to take Spire as my underdog Cinderella team to get a win, the next underdog team to get a win. And we'll see that. But there's rumors Carson Hocevar will be in that 77 seat next year, replacing Ty Dillon, so we'll see. But Corey and Carson, either one of them next year could possibly get into victory lane, so we'll see. But I'm going to take Spire Motorsports for my answer to this week's question of the week. And thank you all for listening. Once again, this has been a fun episode. And even the races that not a lot happens, we're able to make conversation and talk about things. So I'm excited for Watkins Glen this week and the playoffs approaching. I think the playoffs are going to be extremely crazy, and they're always fun to talk about. So really appreciate your support. Continue to like, listen, subscribe, follow, and keep streaming the podcast. And until next week, thank you all so much for the love and support. It means so much to me. And until next week, this has been JD's NASCAR and Sports Podcast. Thank you.